you don't hear me say anything else today, hear me say this. You can use tapping for absolutely every issue. Okay? I helped a lady manifest $2,000 in a couple hours. You can use it to release weight. You can use it to gain weight. I corrected my own vision. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. At age about 53, I believe it was. And that was what we call a 1-minute miracle.
Emotional freedom technique, EFT, otherwise known as tapping. We have Colette, otherwise known as the tapping girl.
Tapping girl.
You've been doing this for quite a long time and have become a big expert at this. So we're anxious to hear about it. Sherry talked to me about having you on the show to talk about tapping. And my first question was, what the hell is tapping?
Yeah.
So
Colette,
no
idea.
A lot of people think it's tap dancing.
Yeah. So if you would enlighten me a little bit about what tapping is all about.
Okay. Tapping is where I'll just give you the bottom line of what it is, and then we can get into a little bit of where it came from and all those things. Tapping, as I say, is where we are working with the mind and the body in the way that they were designed. In other words, we are emotional beings. We have a thought. We have a response to a thought. If it's a crappy thought, then there's a part of the brain that fires up called the amygdala. And the amygdala is what's responsible for the fight, flight, or freeze response. And when we are tapping, which we are actually tapping meridian endpoints on the face and the body while we are addressing a negative emotion, experience, or whatever. And what we're doing is we're actually sending a calming signal to the brain that says, we're not in danger right now. And so it helps separate that, if you will, so that, let's say you had a car wreck and now you're afraid to drive. When you're working with a practitioner, or it's a self-help technique you can use on your own, you call on a practitioner when you're having trouble navigating it and those kinds of things. And so what you would do is you would want to go through, there are different ways we can do it. Like you can tell the story of it, like you're telling someone you really trust. And whenever you get to an emotional pitch, heightened emotion, you stop and you want to tap those spots a little bit longer so that you're able to calm the amygdala and let it know this is not happening right now. I have to interject here myself, interrupt my own self and say that everything that happens in the body, most everything that happens in the body, okay, came from a negative emotion experience that is held in the body. Now, most people go along with me on that to a certain point, because then when they say, oh, well, my knee's been bothering me, and I go, okay, so if there were an emotion in your knee, what would it be? And they go, oh, no, I don't have cartilage there anymore. And I go, right, but something created the cartilage to start to go away. So people go along with you and then they have trouble. Also, I will tell you this, that a lot of people pigeonhole tapping. And when you say, oh, have you tried tapping? And they go, I don't have a mental health issue. And it's like, if you don't hear me say anything else today, hear me say this. You can use tapping for absolutely every issue. Okay? I helped a lady manifest $2,000 in a couple hours.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
do that. I do love tapping about money, because what we're doing is we're always going after the negative emotion or the limiting belief. In other words, if they taught you that money makes you greedy, like, when is enough? And da-da-da. But see, because I also teach law of attraction, there's nothing wrong with us being abundant and allowing that. And so when we tap about things like, even though if I have more money, my friends will think I'm better than them, or I'll have more money, or those kind of things, we can change what it is that you allow in your life, law of attraction wise. You can use it to release weight. You can use it to gain weight. I corrected my own vision. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. At age about 53, I believe it was. And that was what we call a 1-minute miracle. I was working with a third grader. Within we did about 15 minutes of tapping. They were getting ready to wear glasses, and she was very concerned about it. So we did 15 minutes of tapping. Within 2 days, I'm standing there with my glasses, and I cannot see out my picture window. And I'm like, oh, I got to go get new glasses. I got to do this.
Yeah.
So I take the glasses off, and I can read the numbers on the mailbox across the street. I get 15 minutes of tapping. I do not promise those kind of results, but so now for 14 years, I have not needed glasses. I'm getting a little bit of that nearsighted stuff with where you need the magnifiers, but that's really only infrequently. I used it to stop smoking. I smoked for 38 years. So it can be used for addictions, phobias, sports performance. I worked with an 11-year-old who golfed with one time. He took 4 shots off his game and almost hit a hole in one. He was so excited he could hardly stand it.
Wow.
You can use it. You know, I know you guys want to hear about the spirituality stuff, you know, about all the psychic stuff. You can use it to have your higher self talk to someone else's higher self.
Wow.
Cool.
Really?
Yeah.
I know. I saw your video on YouTube. You had mentioned it as like the Western version of acupuncture.
We used to describe it as acupuncture without the needles.
Yeah. How do they align? How are they similar?
Okay, when they do acupuncture, they go into where they put those needles have to do with the meridians that run through the body. The meridians are the chi of qigong, the ki of reiki. You know, those meridians is where the life force flows through. And so Gary Craig, who developed tapping in the mid-90s, who was actually a Stanford trained engineer, said that a negative emotion causes a disruption in the body's energy system. So when they go in there with the needle, they're actually unblocking that meridian. We're kind of doing the same thing.
Okay. Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
How did you come across this and start?
It was really answer to prayer. I was in having a pretty low time, and I would go to the computer and I would watch like Louise Hay wealth and abundance videos and things like that. And then after I'd watch a couple of them, this thing would come up and these people are tapping and repeating after the guy. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Okay. I'm always the guy that does the weird stuff. I'm not doing it. Okay. So then the next week I'd come back, I'd watch these videos. I'm singing songs about abundance and there it is again. And I'm like, okay, we're not doing that. Colette, we are not doing it. Right? By the third week, it pops up again, and I'm like, okay. So I Google before I know what Googling even is.
Yeah.
Emotional freedom technique. Up comes the website for Gary Craig, who just passed away recently. And I think he was 83. Anyway, he comes up and he gives his manual away for free. I'm reading his manual. The cover page is about, I just finished this, and he works with veterans and all of these things. I am sitting at the computer just boohoo sobbing, reading his cover letter of his manual. And I'm like, this guy's for real. He put no copyrights on tapping. He gave it to the world. Okay. Now he got kind of upset with people and what some people did with it. So he did end up in the last few years, his website was OEFT, official EFT.
Oh.
So, but you know, the problem is that anybody that thinks they can do this, you know, sometimes you got, look, I'm life certified. Okay. I created quite the cluster. And so for me, I'm life certified. You know, people go, are you certified? I go, well, yeah, life certified. If you need papers on the wall, I'm not your guy. Okay.
Yeah.
But I have been through so much and had so many amazing things that were able to shift with myself and other people that after I had brought up his manual, I read the manual, learned how to do it. For 3 weeks, I watched a little 8-minute video every day. And at the end of 3 weeks, I'm sitting at the computer just sobbing. And I'm like, where'd that come from? What's that about? And because we all have been taught to stuff that negative emotion. Don't let them see you sweat, babies cry, you know, all this programming we get as little kids. So what I'm always going after, you're welcome, is the negative emotion and the crappy stuff. If I can get, you know, people say to me, am I going to cry? And I go, if I'm any good. You know, I want to help you release that emotional stuff that's going on there that really does block you. And I was thinking about this from the standpoint, I know you guys want to hear about this from the idea of the psychic stuff. We come in as this bright, clear little diamond, okay? And then life muddies and murkies that thing up. We're taught all kinds of garbage and limitation and all of those things. And so tapping is like cleaning that off. Now, your intuitive sense, which is really your first sense, not your sixth sense, you become more and more in tune. And so my intuition, while I don't do readings like Sherry does, my intuition, there are things I know what somebody's going to say. Numbers are a big way for me to get information from the other side. I'm very numerologically connected for me. Sometimes because I'm always looking at license plates, it almost will make a sentence, and I know it's my folks from the other side letting me know they're always around. I mean, listen, I'm the kind of person that if I'm sitting here and I'm struggling, I go, okay, you guys got to help me.
I don't know if you remember many years ago, I used to do parties at people's homes, and sometimes there might be 20 people, and I was just a nervous wreck. You probably don't remember, but I was talking to you on the phone, and as I was driving, you did was doing a little tapping, and you did that kind of to get me over my anxiety, and it works.
Yeah. I just was at a neighbor's last night, and she had a hip replacement, and she went to get up from the table, and she goes, ow. And I go, what? She goes, my knee. And I go, your knee? What's going on with your knee? She said, it's pain. I said, okay. So, because I'm in an older community, so they're not always real open to this stuff. And I said, do you want to try the tapping? Because she is a more open person. And she goes, yeah. We got rid of that pain in like 7 minutes.
Really? So how do these sessions work? Walk us through one of your typical sessions. Does it start with
well, first of all, you usually have something you want to work on.
Okay.
Maybe you're wanting to have more money. Maybe you've got an ache or a pain or a body thing going on. So I mean, we can talk about money, relationships, body stuff, family. It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Okay, so you'll talk to me about what I came here for before you begin your...
Yeah, usually people are going to tell me why they want to meet with me. And when we do a one-on-one, it really does start with questions. I'll even have them start tapping as I'm asking questions, because remember, if you're all hyped up, and I just, look, this is me normal. I have people ask me at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, where's the coffee machine?
I've known her for 20 years.
You do have quite a lot of energy.
And the more I talk about this, the higher it gets.
That's the way I am with ghosts and UFOs, man. It just really charges
Years
me up.
ago, I had to stop doing interviews and one-on-ones like after 6, because I was so hyped up at 9 and 10, I still couldn't go to sleep. But anyway, so you're telling me what it is you want to work on. We're going to be tapping as we're talking about it, even because it's going to help calm your brain. Okay. Now, what happens is, let's say you just say, I've got the pain in my elbow or whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And please don't limit tapping. That's a very big disservice that people do to tapping, because I have surrogate tapped for people. I have shown mothers how to tap when they're nursing their baby and the baby won't go back to sleep in the middle of the night. There is nothing you can't use tapping for. Okay. So we'll start talking. I'll find out. Now it's very highly intuitive for me now. Okay. Meaning I will get like I've had sessions, actually quite a few of them, where as we're going along, I might say something comes out of my mouth and I go, that's not the way I talk. So who do you know that says that? And they'll invariably say, oh, it was my grandmother. And I go, well, guess who got you to me? Okay. So, because that's just the way I believe all of that. Yeah. But we'll start going through, like, let's just say you had a car wreck. Okay. And now you're afraid to drive. You drive, but you're not real comfortable with it. We would start very generally talking about it. Okay. Say, oh, even though I have all this fear of driving, since the car wreck. And then we would go through what we call different aspects. That would be different emotions. Maybe there's fear. Maybe there's anger. Maybe you're mad at yourself because you knew before you even left. Like, I kept thinking I'm not supposed to go. Right. That's why we follow our intuition. Right, Sherry?
Right. Or we'd like to think.
Yeah, we'd like to think. So we can tap on the emotional part. Then as far as the actual wreck, maybe you heard the tire squeal when the brakes were slammed on. Maybe you heard the crunching of the auto. Maybe you smelled gas. Maybe you saw the light turn red. All of those things are going to be what we call aspects, so that we can go in there and start tapping these down one by one. And then it's not like you have to tap about everything that ever happened in your life. As we do some general stuff, it can have like a domino effect.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what?
Do you tap different areas of your body depending on what you want?
No. I will give you the background on that because it's amazing. Gary Craig, who developed emotional freedom technique, actually originally studied under an American psychologist. His name was Roger Callahan. He had a different tapping sequence for every emotion. Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. So that means you have to know the emotion. And a
Yeah.
lot of us don't even know what emotion, because we just weren't taught this stuff.
Right.
What Gary Craig did was, I believe he paid him like $10,000 to study under him. He asked him if he could study under him. He started studying because Roger Callahan was already combining the meridian systems with sabotage and psychological concepts and things like that. Like one of the things when I wanted to stop smoking was, I wanted to stop smoking, but everybody I knew gained weight, and I didn't want to gain weight, right? So,
Kathy did that, our sister.
okay,
She
so
did that.
just so you know, I tapped for 2 months on everything I could think of about smoking. Did you notice I didn't even call it quit? Because my brain, I'm not a quitter. I call it stopping. I quit 3 times and I stopped once.
Yeah.
So going through all of that for 2 months, and then one day I just stopped. I had no withdrawal. I did not gain weight. I just never had another one again. And, I used to say people who could stop like that really weren't smokers, and I was a smoker. So anyway, we go through these various aspects of this so that we can, then they call it testing, right? So anyway, so Gary Craig studies under Roger Callahan, and he comes up with what I call a one-size-fits-all tapping sequence, that we use the same tapping sequence over and over again while we're addressing sadness, fear, grief, anxiety, whatever it is, so that you don't have to figure out what emotion it is. Just
Okay.
keeps it simpler. Now, it is something you can learn on your own, but remember, if you get into trouble, you don't want to take on the biggest thing in your life right out of the gate, okay? Don't be a nimnod. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Don't open up something you don't know how to close, those kinds of things. But if you're having a pain in your knee, you could sit for 10 minutes and tap and probably get results.
Huh.
It's really good.
Your mind needs to focus on that issue while you're tapping.
You want to. Like last night, I said to the lady, giving her guidance, I said, what I want you to do is tell me, I said, what is it? Can you describe it? Is it sharp? Is it a throb? And she goes, it's pain.
Yeah.
Okay. So I said, even though I have this pain, and I said, I want you to focus on your knee and where you feel it. Even though I have this pain in my knee, I choose to love and accept and forgive myself and my knee. Okay. Now everybody can bend the setup statement a little bit, but what we're doing is we're talking about the problem. Put my hand here, the problem, and then we're talking about the emotion. We're talking about where it is. Even though I have this pain in my knee, even though I have this guilt and shame in my upper chest, if you know those kinds of things, then it helps. But usually if you're with somebody who's done this as long as I have, you can start doing your stuff, and I go, okay, do you feel right here? And they go, yeah. And I go, is it shame? Could we say shame? Now, most people will say, we all want to deny stuff at first. I don't know.
Yeah.
did this ever? They go, no. And then before I know it, they're telling me the whole thing, and it was all about what I asked about. Like I might say, was there abuse in your home? And most all of us go, oh, no. It's just mom and dad. And then they tell me some things, and I go, okay, that was abuse. And I'm not trying to throw your parents under the bus. And doing this work is not throwing your parents under the bus. It's taking care of you emotionally, so the crud's not stuck in your body, so that you don't get all kind of headaches or pain or autoimmune diseases or, all of those things that can happen.
Yeah.
Gee,
Okay.
we could use a lot of that, Bobby. We had like a lot of mental abuse, I think.
Well,
and with the state of the world right now, I mean, I'm an empath. All this tapping I've done has made me so empathic that I cry almost every day.
Really?
And I just let myself cry. I just tap and I cry.
Yeah. That kind of speaks to the spiritual side of this. How can it help someone be more psychic or spiritual?
Well, you can even start out you can even start out as simple as, even though I'm not in touch with my intuition at all, you're just doing a setup statement that is telling the truth. One of the things I've said for years is that tapping is for that crappy truth you don't want to say out loud. And then people who teach law of attraction say, you're not supposed to do that. And I go, but you're thinking and feeling it all day. So let's get it out of the body. So you could say, even though there's no way I'm ever going to be psychic, that I'm going to ever connect to my intuition. And then, like I said, you'll go through it with somebody who can start connecting dots. But you can do that on your own, just even 10 minutes a day, and you might surprise yourself the things you start noticing, or maybe you're having dreams or, things coming in that you go, wow, okay. And one of the things, and I don't know if you teach this, Sherry, when you teach me, but one of the things I've told people for a long time, you get something, an intuitive hit, or you're shown to, you got to celebrate it. That way the universe, infinite wisdom, whatever you want to call it, knows, oh, that's what they want. We'll give her more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it's numbers. Numbers, I mean, numbers. And like I said, I can put them together. Sometimes I don't hear voices because that sounds too weird. But I get a thought impression. That's the way it goes for me. So if I'm working with somebody and I'm a blurter, okay, I'm a blurter. Like, all of a sudden I go, oh, I said to it one time, I was getting ready for a session and I was in the bathroom and putting on low makeup so I looked decent on video, right? And I heard this voice. It's like if somebody's name was Billy, it was Silly Billy. And I'm hearing this and I'm like, okay. So I get onto my session and we're about 40 minutes into it. And I said, well, what did they call you at home? And the person says, oh, little one. And I go, no. Did they call you something else? And the person said, oh, Silly Billy. And I go, get out. I said, who called you Silly Billy? And oh, my brother. And I said, well, your brother made a visit to me.
Yeah.
That's the way I get stuff.
Oh,
And the more you tap, the more you're clearing the gunk off of that brilliant diamond. You could call it your pineal, however everybody wants to, tomato, pineal. But it's you're getting rid of the gunk that covers the clear vessel that we really all are.
Yeah.
I always like to think of it like those little pixie sticks that have all that sugary stuff inside, and you tap, 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 and
that's what I used to explain it as all the time. I wonder if you
really?
heard that from me, because I used to explain it that way all the time. I used to say that
maybe that is where I got it from. It just stuck because I thought that's a good way of thinking about it. All that gunk,
and
then
it unblocks.
Then you're just an open vessel.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Well,
And you would be able to discern more and things like that. Like, is that my ego or is that something I'm supposed to do? Those kinds of things. It's like anything. It's a muscle. The more you're tapping, the more you clear off the gunk. The more you clear off the gunk, the more things you receive. The more things you receive, the more you celebrate them. The more infinite wisdom knows what it is that you want. The more you're going to get it. You're right back to celebrating.
Right.
You want to keep celebrating.
Yeah. So, how frequently should one person tap in order to resolve an issue?
Okay, well, everybody's different, and it's really going to be can you get into sometimes there's 1 minute miracles, but can you really get into what it is that's blocking you? Now, I'm going to tell you this. First of all, I don't do should. Should is shaming, could is choice. Okay, so you could, and I tap every day. I tap every day. Because you can use tapping for everything. You can even use it for your positive affirmations. Do you like to sing? Sing your favorite song and tap. Do you pray? Pray when you tap. You can tap along with everything. But lately, I will tell you, I have been working on my hips because my hips are very tight, and I've had some things develop that were not good from the standpoint of letting some people work on my body that I probably shouldn't have, because I know my body better than. I don't want to name specific, what do they call that? Professions, but it didn't go well for me. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm done with all these bozos. I'm going to do my own work. I know this better than anyone. And I am getting so much relief. So on the hips, I'm doing at least 10 minutes twice a day, but it's not unlikely. Now, not everybody's going to do this. I'm really dedicated to it because I have had a lifelong history of being in abuse. I was raised in it. Okay. And so those are things that when they happen where you start out in life, those things go along with you. And then you start attracting, what it is you expect. So I've really been doing a lot of work these last few years on all of that. And it's not unusual for me to go through the negative tapping in the morning to clear out some gunk and then go into the positive tapping about how my cells know how to heal my body. Look, if negative emotion can make our body sick, and it can, then positive emotion, love, can heal the body.
Sure. So we could essentially integrate this tapping into our daily meditation.
Everything. Yeah. I had a guy tell me not too long ago, he said, I started tapping when I'm meditating, and he goes, wow, what an uptick. I go, I keep telling you, use it for everything.
Yeah. Sherry, do you tap when you do your meditations or before you do readings? Nothing?
No. I like tapping, and the only reason is because I own a cleaning business and I couldn't vacuum and tap. I guess I could, but
now you can visualize it. Okay. So let's say you're at the doctor's office. Okay. And you feel, but I used to tell everybody, get your mug in the mirror. Okay. And look at how you look when you're tapping. Okay. So now you're at the doctor's office. You're very worried. You're going to get the prognosis or whatever's going on. Okay. You can close your eyes. You don't even have to close your eyes, and you can just visualize yourself. Like right now, I'm on the eyebrow. Now I'm on the side of the eye. Now I'm under the eye, under the nose. And when we tap, we're tapping about 7 or 8 times, and it should never, ever, never be painful. Never.
Mm-hmm. So is it kind of a form of self-hypnosis to a certain extent?
No, because a lot of people say, oh, you just distracted me. That's not what we did. We actually tapped the meridians so that the brain could calm down. We're in a safe place. The body knows when it feels safer, and then the body can release and let go. Some things take more. I mean, when you like the hips, we carry so much trauma in the hips, from the fight, flight, or freeze to lineage and the generations of sexual trauma and all the other things that go on, that this is not going to be a one and done. I mean, it's kind of interesting when I think I corrected my vision in 15 minutes. And just so you know, this is not like I just started wearing glasses. I wore glasses since 4th grade to age 53. And it was that 15-minute session with the neighbor where, boom, no more glasses.
Yeah, I almost asked. It's been a while since I've seen you, and I thought she wore glasses. So.
Yeah.
Colette can be seen on Facebook, on YouTube.
Yes, I have old videos on YouTube. Yes, I do.
And it's Tap'n Girl, TAPNGRL.
Yes, sir.
We will put contact information down in the description of this video for you. If you want to contact Colette and have any questions, or maybe even want to set up a time to meet with her a little bit. So, Colette, we appreciate it.